The purpose of the new CD is to bring out something that is unique. These recordings have not been made this way before.
Kan I prøve lige at tage en sektion, hvor I synger med, bare lige så jeg har niveauet på vokalet? Nej, hvor er I sjove. Ja. Det
bliver en lang dag.
Skal jeg forfra?
And we tried to make the tracks represent ways of doing recording or ways of making a sonic signature that would justify better sound reproduction, in the sense that if you played it on a good system, it would sound better than if you played it on a bad system.
Første, anden, brat, cello, og så ligger vokalerne sidst her.
Ja.
Men ellers så ser det meget godt ud.
Ja, jeg synes bare, vi skal i gang.
Lad os gøre det.
Lo quieto a me gira che prome rimira se meglio può andar o cambio felice.
Jeg synes, at det lover rigtig godt.
Ja.
Ja, noget mere roligt.
This is actually the fifth CD that we are producing. The previous four has all been with already recorded material.
We've been pretty successful in doing it, and it seems like they fill a hole in the market perhaps, because people get a chance to very easily get started with high quality sound listening, and that was in fact also the purpose.
This one is a lot different because we are recording it here at the Medley Studios in Copenhagen. So we have invited 15 Danish artists, all well established, to come in and do a 2-day session with the recordings. And the only thing that we are controlling is the dynamics. We want to make sure that it's an interesting track and that it's well recorded. I think we have covered most genres with this CD. Bear in mind that most people who buy our CDs do not know the tracks that's on. They buy it purely because they expect it to be well recorded.
I see it, band. Are you ready?
DALI as a brand has a lot of values, but you could say they're all centered around the passion for high quality music reproduction and what comes from that. So we try to, on one side, bring out the good message about how fantastic recordings we humans can take and bring into our homes, and on the other hand, making products to make sure that it can happen.
Vi springer bare lige direkte på første vers, drenge. Skal vi ikke gøre det? 1, 2 og 1. Somebody's taking your life. You kids in your way. When my brother is down on his knees, like Blackwood trees.
When you're talking about a DALI speaker, you're talking about something that is authentic, doesn't add anything, nor does it subtract anything. We believe that our main reason to be here is to interpret the music the way that the artist intended it to sound. It's not our business to add or to subtract anything from the original recordings.
Please forgive
I can definitely see some values in the project that we're doing with Medley, because I think we understand each other. Medley understand the world we are coming from, with the focus on the recording quality, but we also now see the world where Jakob is coming from in the producing process of the music. That is not always that easy, because sometimes you have to take some decisions when you're recording.
Kan du egentlig prøve at speede den lidt op, uden at det går ud over pitchen?
Altså tempomæssigt?
Ja.
Det er ikke rigtigt.
Okay.
Altså man kan godt, men jeg vil være lidt ked af det i forhold til lyden og sådan.
Ja, selvfølgelig.
Jeg har sådan en idé, jeg synes, jeg bliver lidt irriteret på mig selv i det der please, hvor jeg går op hver gang, hvor jeg godt kunne tænke mig, hvor den bare lige ligger.
Okay. Så er det anden halvdel herfra. Det var fedt.
Det var fedt, mand. Kæft, mand. Så snart man ikke tror, du har et gear mere gear, så giver du bare det ekstra gear. Det er fandme godt.
One of the few things we have left that is universal is music. No matter where you come from, music can touch you or move you one way or the other. It may be different kind of music that moves us, but we will be moved. It does something to us.
Jeg tror aldrig, jeg har haft så fine mikrofoner på den her. I hvert fald ikke så mange.
I hvert fald ikke så mange. Can you just please like make a small bump bump on the Brylokær, the black one? Okay, super. Sounds so much better now.
I think music, in a weird way, it expands your mind and it transports you to somewhere else, and it gives you an experience of, you know, sometimes not even your own experience, but you get to experience something, you know, just by sitting in a chair like I'm doing right now and listening to something. You actually get transported into another place, and it's really, I don't know anything else in the world, you know, that'll do that, to me anyway.
Some days I look down, afraid I will fall.
In daily modern life, it's about, you know, using your logic and your brain, and whereas music is still this, you know, ancient thing that, you know, it just affects your whole body. You know, if I listen to something that I really like, you know, my whole body reacts to it. And it's kind of like, you know, being on a dance floor and dancing to your favorite song, you know, it's that same feeling. It's kind of like setting yourself free or setting your body free.
Sometimes I feel like I've never been nothing but tired.
When I heard it, it just hit me, and I was crying throughout the track, and I can't really explain why. But what I felt was that I connected with the lyrics, but I most certainly also connected with the violin and the guitar, and of course the beautiful voice of Dorthe. And I think it really proves that if you take your time, if you sit down and if you just listen, then it's going to do something to you.
And though the sun shines, I see nothing at all. Still I hear your sweet voice.
Det er magisk. Det var simpelthen magisk.
Hvad er det for nogle mics, det der egentlig?
Det er sådan nogle, hvad hedder de, C12, FOG C12.
Det lyder fandme godt, det her med Jakob.
Ja, det lyder lækkert.
Ja.
When you compress sound to make it sound louder, you kind of take as much content from the sound and put it up to maximum level. And that means there will be very little silence in the sound. You could compare it with if you had a meal on a plate with a lot of nice, small, tasty bits and pieces. If you wanted as much food to go into your mouth with as little volume as possible, you should put it all into a blender and mix it and compress it into a chunk of food. And that would enable you to take in as much food as possible in one bite. All these bits and pieces that made this distinctive taste and contrast between tastes would go away completely, because it would all become a kind of average of all of it, and it would saturate your hunger in a short while. But I'm not sure you would enjoy it at all. I would say, on the contrary, it would be terrible.
Good sound is when the sound is revealing the music. So if you have a dynamic piece of music, the sound should be dynamic, warm, wide. If you have like a more edgy, more punchy type of music, the sound should be thick. You want that if it's a rock band that you wanna, really make punchy.
Der er noget sjovt i det med, at man ligesom har noget, altså alt er mega moderne som udgangspunkt.
Ja.
Og så sådan, okay, hvordan kan vi gøre det her anderledes? Hvordan kan man sådan, hvad er der i studiet, som de brugte for 20 år siden, da alt var godt?
Ja. Og strøm og sådan noget, det der, jeg kan se, at har en strøm på det bord, ikke? Så kig, hvad der er.
Prøv lige at finde et eller andet sjovt.
It's difficult not to talk about taste when you talk about sound. For me personally, sound has to be dynamic. I really enjoy when I can hear a singer that goes up to the high notes actually raises his or her voice. And if they go down to the low key, that we can actually hear that the voice is quieting down.
Jeg har også kørt igennem en Fairchild-kompressor, så du får noget rør derfra, det lyder virkelig godt.
Nice.
Skal jeg optage en lille snak, så du lige kan høre det?
Ja, er det cool med delay og...
Det synes jeg, umiddelbart.
Good sound is something that once you have grown accustomed to enjoying it, you will know right away once you miss it. I would say sound without pauses makes no real sense. So, sound is contrasts, and those contrasts will not exist if you don't have a kind of calm background to have it on.
This one is an old RCA mic from the 50s, I think, maybe earlier. And it's a very special vintage mic that Peter has brought for the session with the horns.
I think the whole music business should rethink, because as the streaming services are getting better and better, meaning that you will have higher and higher resolution files on, a lot of the music that's been created today or in the past 5 years, I'm not sure that will be good enough in a few years' time. So this is also a project about making sure that music is being created so that it will last in 10 or 15 years' time, or 20 maybe.
Altså den her bruger jeg jo faktisk mange gange som close mic til. Ja, det har en eller anden, altså bare sætte et eller andet op, eller hvad du ligesom...
Det behøver sikkert være noget stormembran eller sådan noget.
Overhovedet.
The standard and style and quality of recordings have been changing ever since recordings took place. I think the ideals about making natural sound were more obvious in the first years because you were so far away from being able to do it that you had to strive for that ideal for quite a few years. There are, let's say, forces in the music industry who have driven sound into a more industrial manufacturing process where you seem to be optimizing sound loudness a lot more than sound resolution, for example.
Jeg vil faktisk gerne have lidt fra siden, hvor vi på det. Ja.
New, young engineers, producers were beginning to making even more compressed sound, more distinct sound, and in the beginning it was fun and it was nice and it was different. But I think maybe now it's beginning to be a little bit too squashed. I think we need to back up a little bit and find new ways in all the equipment and all the possibilities that we have.
Yes.
You can look back on, let's say, the second half of the 90s, or maybe even the 90s as such. I recall a lot of things about that. I would say it's pretty easy to guess if you put on a track from those days. Let's say within which 5 years it was made, just to look at the way the drums were recorded.
I think we would talk about right now. I feel like we are experiencing a little bit of a new era regarding the sound of music, but it's still on its way. We still come from a point where a lot of our kids have listened to music on YouTube and low resolution streaming services, and yeah, they're probably, when they're getting our age, will get used to listen to music in good quality again.
Got a lot to live, I got love to give, I got songs to sing, and I'm doing it.
Var du lidt for lang?
I would say it is more or less a guarantee that people listen to more music than they would have done if they didn't have the smartphone. So our role in this world, with these young people having this reference to begin with, is to make them aware of what they might be missing. And that is a very interesting mission to be on, because it turns out that all people, I would say with so few exceptions that it's not worth mentioning, will react to being presented to better sound reproduction. If you took a time machine and went to, let's say we went to 2030 and looked back on this latest 10 years, I'm pretty sure we will at that time see this period as a period where compression and loudness peaked. We would look back and say, oh, that was what people were concerned about at the time. They wanted the sound a little bit to be like it had been sent through a blender and put together again with maximum content. What we can't say for sure is how it will look in 2030, but I'm pretty sure it will change, and there will be a change soon, because all history shows that the ways sound have been made for a period will always come to an end. And frankly speaking, I'm looking forward to that at the moment.
Skrues op eller
hvad? Ned.
Det lyder ret fedt, man får nogle ret fede overtoner ved den der Avalon sammen med den andet der. Det kan jeg meget godt lide.
It requires a certain level of cultivation to get the first steps towards appreciating the better quality. But frankly speaking, once that starts happening, it is, or it can become a one-way street, and that's where you really start becoming aware of what you have been missing for a long time.
2 takter.
2, 3, 4.
It was brutal when you came home. I decided where you should see.
The world is changing quite rapidly right now, and I would say the digital download took over for a short while, but now I would say it's obvious that streaming of sound, streaming of music from the internet, from various sources of better or worse quality, that's a story of its own, but that will be taking over, and it's already happening. I mean, you can own the greatest audio system in the world. If you don't really have any good music to play on it, it becomes more the technical satisfaction than the musical satisfaction. And so I have it as a principle that is never the target, and it should never be, because that will end up being a blind alley for you as a person. If the music is your guideline for how you improve your sound reproduction, then you have, I would say, the perfect hobby for all your life.
Det var dejligt ambient. Lækkert.
If I were the one deciding the sound, I would roll back some of the bad things that has happened recently and strive for a more organic, a more natural sound in general. But having said that, I would never make myself the judge of how, say, a band should sound. I am absolutely sure that the reason why some of us love a band like Queen is not because they had a neutral sound as their ideology. It was because they had an opinion about how Queen should sound. So, you know, on one side, I would like to improve sound recording and reproduction quality. On the other side, I would like to give it back in the hands of the artist.
Vi har vores eget studie, som på størrelse med det her.
Ja.
When we started this project together with the Medley Studios, it was important for us to make them understand what the sound of DALI is and what we mean with good sound.
You can say that the DALI speakers are like hi-fi speakers. They are revealing, if you have a good sound, they're revealing the good sound really in, you know, in all its layers. When I'm mixing, I'm, you know, trying to make every instrument fit each other, making them glue so it sounds like one unit. Before this DALI session, I think it's been It's been 5 years since we used the big 24-track Otari tape machine, but this one I actually often use for especially organic sounding mixes. The tape machine helps cleaning up. It's like it's gluing the mix together, compression, and like a natural tape compression, making the vocal sound clearer, the low end sound more warm.
Oh, fight for the love that you give.
When you're recording and you're doing a pre-mix, it's like you always tend to have it a little bit closed in the sound. So when you're coming in with fresh ears, beginning from the top, you can easily hear that, okay, we need to open the sound a little bit more, especially in the high end. We are now at Cutting Room Studios in Stockholm, where we are mastering the DALI CD. We are with mastering engineer Bjørn Engelmann, and he's checking the level for EQ and levels between the songs, so they are consistent when you are, skipping between different kind of songs, that you not get surprised either by the level or the EQ in the tracks.
Trying to be somewhere else, yeah. One time living, 2 times driven, head on listen, be forgiven. All I want is to come back to you. 3 times given.
I think we are about to change now because the human nature has an ability to say time for a change. When something has become too stable for a while, I think it requires very little imagination to parallel shift the focus over to clothing, for instance. I mean, it's not a law of nature, but it almost is a law of nature that when red color has been the fashion for a couple of years, or maybe even less at the time, then you will know for a fact that the year after you won't see any red. It's a little bit the same with sound. The cycles are just longer, and it will happen. Trust me.
Skal den have mere bund, eller skal vi blive her?
Altså, det er bare, det ikke kommer til at mudre de der tammer i versene.
Ja. Nej, men jeg kan gøre det bare i refrængen. Altså.
Okay, og det kunne man godt.
Jeg tænker sådan en lidt høj bund, altså lidt attack-bund, og ikke bare så.
I'm not naive. I don't think that all the artists will go back and next time they record an album it will be, in this big studio. But if we can just create some rings in the water and make everybody in the process think about that, maybe we should try to do a little bit better, or then we have come a long way.